It was good. The Indy GP was exciting, but also exciting is some of the off-track stuff that has broken in the last couple of hours with the Alex Palou contract situation. It's back. Spoiler alert. Let's get into it. So obviously a big weekend here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Indy Next, IndyCar. Xfinity is about to go out. Cup on the road course tomorrow for what, at least for the foreseeable future, and the foreseeable future may only be a year at this point, Cup will be back on the oval. We'll have to wait and see on that. But like I said in the opening, actually a really exciting and unpredictable Indy GP for the most part. Yes, the pole sitter led most of the laps, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was boring by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, quite the opposite, in my opinion. One of the most solid IndyCar races on this course that I've seen, and definitely I would say the best one that I've seen that's actually been dry the entire way through. Now you may notice these clouds in the background. You probably will already know the results of what those clouds result in, but the Xfinity race might not be dry the entire way through, and that would be a little bit exciting. So let's take a look at the results from this year's Gallagher Grand Prix here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it was Scott Dixon with an absolute masterclass that we'll talk about in greater depth later on in this video. Fuel save and tire save was the MO of Scott Dixon. He held off pole sitter Graham Rahal, who was in second place. A valiant drive. The crowd was definitely behind Graham, cheering him on, trying to chase down Dixon, but he didn't quite get there, and Graham will have to settle for second once again at the Indy GP. This is a race that he's so strong at every single year and is yet to taste victory. Pato Award rounding out the podium for a strong race for Arrow McLaren. They haven't had many of those this year. Christian Lundgaard in P4 for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. A little bit of a different strategy that didn't work out. They went red to red, and the red tires definitely were the preferred tires, but the black stint that Christian Lundgaard had definitely was not advantageous. Alexander Rossi in P5 for Arrow McLaren. Will Power in 6th, a quiet day for the multiple winner on this road course. Points leader Alex Palou is at the center of controversy, but he moves to over a 2-race lead in the championship, meaning that he can clinch at Gateway if he has a good, solid result there. Scott McLaughlin in P8 with the race sponsor's sponsor on his car. Kyle Kirkwood, the Nashville winner, in P number 9. And Marcus Ericsson came from deep in the field to finish in the 10th spot. Rinus VeeKay is a former winner here. A lot of people forget that, P11. With Linus Lundqvist for the number 60 Meyer-Shank racing car in 12th place. A great result for Linus in his second IndyCar race, actually getting to the end on the lead lap and knocking on the door of a top 10. That's fantastic for Linus. Colton Herta was fairly anonymous after being caught up in that first lap Schmazel in 13th place. Jack Harvey in 14th actually finally finishes above the 17th spot for the first time this year. That's his best finish of the season. Helio Castroneves, the new team owner in IndyCar, in 15th. Little David Malukas in 16th. Callum Ilott in 17th. Roman Grosjean had a bad day starting off on lap 1 in 18th. But he had a better day than Devlin DeFrancesco did, who was leading going into turn 1 in one of the most incredible moves that I've ever seen. A 4-wide pass on the outside going into turn 1 here at this road course and beating Graham Rahal to the punch on lap 1. Ryan Hunter-Reay was in a bit of controversy, finishing 20th for car number 20 with Graham Rahal at the end of the race. Augustine Canapino was 1 lap down, as was Stingray Robb, who ran fairly strong during the race at points. Santino Ferrucci in 23rd for AJ Foyt Racing. Marcus Armstrong was caught up in the first lap crash, as was Joseph Newgarden, who had an absolutely miserable day today, and his championship chances went out the window. Benjamin Peterson for Foyt never actually got started. He finished 6 laps down once his car finally got the electronics working, and Felix Rosenquist was the only retirement, 17 laps down with a mechanical failure. So real quick before we get into the drama of the situation with Alex Palou, I just want to say that how amazing was it to see Scott Dixon spun out and crashed on lap 1. And naturally, we always think, oh, yeah, he's not going to factor into the rest of the race, because who else in that first lap crash factored into the race? And yet Scott Dixon, by the end of it, won. So similar to that 2019 Portland race where cars were flipping and spinning all over the place. Scott Dixon was in the middle of it, but actually managed to survive and finish the race. So that was He bettered. I mean, this is one of the best Scott Dixon races ever, and I know some people are going to downplay it, but the fact that he managed the fuel, managed the tires. I mean, the tires were such a big story today. The red tires were the preferred tire. They were the tire for longevity. They were the tire for speed. The balance wasn't quite right in terms of what the red tires are supposed to be versus what the black tires are supposed to be. But I think the change in strategy definitely meant that the race was unique and different, which I can't complain about. Again, like I mentioned, unique and different. Devlin DeFrancesco taking the lead and leading the first 8 laps of the race. That was absolutely insane. I could not believe that because obviously he had a great starting position, great qualifying effort yesterday. But Devlin has never shown that kind of gusto behind the wheel. And while he didn't finish the race very strong, I think that that's something to work on going forward for Devlin. He now knows what it's like to lead a race. And that was fairly exciting. Christian Lundgaard, by the way, was not happy with his team on that strategy call to do 2 red stints in a row. That was unfortunate for Christian Lundgaard, who is also yet to win here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after being so strong in the past. Graham Rahal, obviously the rags to riches story, getting bumped from the field here at the 500 in May, and then obviously now as we look forward to the GP getting the pole here and being in contention to win. Very exciting stuff for Graham Rahal, very encouraging for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team. So a lot of positives to take away for that team going forward. But not a lot of positives in the world of Alex Palou and the potential, I guess not anymore, relationship that he was going to have with Arrow McLaren, or perhaps we should just say McLaren. Let's talk about that. So it broke yesterday in a story broken by Jenna Fryer of the Associated Press. She received a letter from McLaren, or sent to McLaren boss Zach Brown, stating that Alex Palou had no intention of honoring his contract with McLaren for next year. The article went on to state that a significant investment had already been made in Alex Palou, including in advance of part of his 2024 annual salary. Also confirmed today was that Monaco Increase Management and Alex Palou have parted ways. That was the management company that was in charge of all of the drama and excitement last year with Alex Palou and Arrow McLaren. Then Nathan Brown confirmed that Roger Yasukawa, who was Palou's former manager until last year, has returned to his management position. And I can tell you personally that I have seen Roger Yasukawa on the grounds here this weekend in the Ganassi camp. But then the most bizarre part of the weekend, I think, for me, is the fact that Chip Ganassi actually felt compelled to issue a statement. He has issued almost nothing in terms of a statement on this situation since it broke. But Chip Ganassi Racing sent out a press release today, and it reads, "Anyone that knows me knows that I don't make a habit of commenting about contract situations. Subsequently, I've been quiet since day one of this story, but now I feel I must respond. I grew up respecting the McLaren team and their success. The new management does not get my same respect. Alex Palou has been a part of our team and under contract since the 2021 season. It is the interference of that contract from McLaren that began this process, and ironically, they are now playing the victim. Simply stated, the position of McLaren IndyCar regarding our driver is inaccurate and wrong, and he remains under contract with CGR." So we've heard all the rumors, all of the conjecture, but we finally have a statement confirming specifically that Chip Ganassi and Zach Brown, or at least Chip Ganassi does not like Zach Brown. When referring to the current management of McLaren, that's exactly it. And them going to war in the pages of the Associated Press, or on the words of the Associated Press, the pages all over of newspapers all over this country, and on the web pages all over this country. The Associated Press is all over the place. This is everyone's bringing in the heavy artillery here. There's no doubt about it. A leaked letter of intent to not continue with McLaren is very interesting. One of the big things that I think a lot of people are missing is that since the day one of this broke, I've never really gotten the sense that Alex Palou was going to drive for Arrow McLaren SP. I've always said if he was going to be doing this, if he was going to be going to this lengths, a Formula One seat had to be on the table. And in my opinion, a Formula One seat is probably not on the table any longer. And further still, I think Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou have realized what we've all realized, the fact that I just mentioned, that he's 2 races ahead in the championship with 3 races to go. that means that if he just maintains station at Gateway, he's got the championship. No driver has clinched the championship before the final race since 2007. It's absolutely unbelievable. Actually, 2005 was the last time. That was the Dan Weldon year. So that was the last time we saw someone clinch a championship or have a championship not truly be in question before the final race. Alex Palou has an opportunity to do that in an era that we describe as the most competitive in IndyCar history. So this is, I think they've realized what we realize, is that why would you split that partnership up? Even if you've had disagreements in the past, get the family back together and do right by Alex Palou. And that sounds like what Chip Ganassi is doing for Alex Palou. Based on my understanding of the situation, and again, I don't have any quotes to back this up, but at the end of the day, Alex Palou, one of the things that he wanted, and it was stated in his original statement of intent to leave Chip Ganassi Racing almost a year to the day ago, that he wanted to be paid like a top-tier driver, and he did not feel like he was getting that from Chip Ganassi Racing. My understanding is that what it was going to take to get it across the finish line to get Alex Palou back into that seat next year was going to be to make Alex Palou the highest paid IndyCar driver in the series, and that's a sum of around $6.5 million as far as I know. I think Colton Herta and Scott Dixon are somewhere around that number. Now, if they have achieved this, and the fact that Chip Ganassi is making public statements about this now seems to indicate to me that Chip thinks that this is a settled issue and that Alex Palou is going to continue to be under contract from that team. That's just my reading of the situation here, but I think it's fairly accurate at this point. Now, how would you accomplish this? Because here's the thing, we've heard so much about Chip Ganassi Racing over the past couple of years that they don't have a major sponsor. When they lost Target, that was a major blow to that team. I think how you do it is you bring a couple of pay drivers in. Now, what's going to happen with Marcus Ericsson is the question, because Marcus Ericsson also wants to be paid, much like Alex Palou. Again, I question him this weekend. I mean, Andretti is the biggest rumor that has come up, the name that is most mentioned as a place that Marcus Ericsson could end up eventually landing. But now that Alex Palou is presumably not going to the Arrow McLaren IndyCar team either, that would theoretically open up a spot. Arrow McLaren has been looking at expanding to 4 cars through the use of a satellite team. A couple of names that have been mentioned for that are Juncos Hollinger Racing as well as Dreyer and Reinbold Racing to run that satellite team. We're going to have to see how that ends up working out. But if they do expand, that would probably mean that Felix Rosenqvist is safe, and that would also mean that they would need a driver to fill that 4th car. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. I guess there's also a possibility if Juncos is indeed that satellite partner, that maybe one of their cars just slides over into the McLaren or under the McLaren tent. But yeah, the Ganassi Palou McLaren thing continues. And I just wonder at this point, because it was the first thought that popped into my head, Alex Palou already got sued to leave Chip Ganassi Racing. He's now staying at Chip Ganassi Racing. Will he be sued by the team that he got sued to get to? The other thing that people have brought up is that maybe there's a Formula One seat out there. I really just don't think there is. I mean, some people are bringing up, and I don't think it's anyone necessarily legitimate, but he could take Logan Sargent's seat at Williams. I just don't think so. I think, why would you leave a championship caliber ride in IndyCar with, let's say you become the highest paid IndyCar driver and you get a Williams-sized salary, if it's between $6.5 million to drive for Williams or $6.5 million to drive for Chip Ganassi, I know which one I'm picking every damn day of the week. So this is a hell of a situation. It just keeps getting messier and messier, but I think it's about to come to a conclusion. Thank you guys so much for watching Indy GP coverage. We'll have coverage of, I almost call it the Brickyard 400. That's next year. The Verizon 200 at the Brickyard tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. It was a good Indy road course race, and it didn't even need to rain. I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.